education has a negative impact on the college communities due to the mental health toll it takes on students, the negative learning environment it creates, and the difficulties it creates for students with disabilities and/or attention learning deficit disorders. Online education has taken a toll on all of us, even if we're not aware of it, just like me. Oftentimes, individuals are completely unaware of the toll these online classes have and continue to have on their mental health. Online education has become one and/or the biggest focus point since the COVID-19 pandemic had begun, which is understandable because when you have a virus come like COVID, what are you going to do with all these students who need education? You're going to find alternative methods to helping them out. College kids have gone from being on time and attending in class to waking up and logging onto a Zoom and paying absolutely no attention to what the professor in the class or to what anyone else in the class is saying. This is largely in part to the college kids being able to mute themselves and turn off their camera. How do we know that they're paying attention? You don't. How does the professor know that he's getting the attention and respect that he deserves? He doesn't. This brings us right into body paragraph number 1, which is an article called Online versus Traditional Learning and Teacher Education. In this first paragraph, we examine the differences between online education and traditional learning. Let me read you all this example from body paragraph number 1 in the first article we're looking at. This states, the findings indicate that the greatest predictors of student satisfaction were the interaction and understanding between students and the instructor. So take that for example. So if you're having an interaction and talking with your instructor, can you honestly get that in an online learning environment, or is it better in person? That's a question for y'all. The fact that this article states that students find a greater satisfaction when they have interaction with their professor says a lot. Do we really want to pay attention to these classes as students claim? Just as I mentioned earlier, they fail to pay attention. They fail to show their face. They fail to have the mic on. I know that teachers don't require it, but if teachers don't require it, then how are students supposed to pay attention and learn? And off of that point brings us right into article number 2, body paragraph number 2. It's called COVID-19 Presents New Challenges and Opportunities to Higher Education. Now let me read you all an example from article number 2 and from body paragraph number 2. It says, going to school is the best public policy tool available to raise skills. While school seems to be fun and can raise social skills and social awareness from an economic point of view, the primary point of being in school is that it increases a child's ability. Even a relatively short time in school does this. Even a relatively short time period of missed in school will have consequences for skill growth. Skill growth. Do you think that a child and/or teenager can learn, develop socially, and expand who they are as a person if they're constantly locked in their room on a Zoom? I don't think so. Now, am I saying that it's completely safe to go back to school right now? I'm not saying that either. I'm saying there needs to be a median where both parties can come and agree that, hey, maybe we need to compromise on something. The fact that this article clearly states the negative impact online education can have on individuals' development should be all the info we need. It's bad for social development. It's a loss of crucial interaction and experiences that kids and teenagers need to develop as a person. Now, off of that info brings us in to body paragraph number 3 and the third article. And personally, this is my favorite article. The impact of the COVID-19 epidemic on mental health of undergraduate students. Now, in this article, we focus on undergraduate students in New Jersey, so keep in mind. It says, our findings support the notion that current COVID-19 pandemic is making a significant negative impact on the mental health of college students. College students who exhibit greater academic and life difficulties, such as ADHD and attention learning deficit disorders, which are the same thing, may be particularly vulnerable to higher mental health distress. The current pandemic may further exacerbate already existing problems. So can you imagine having horrible stress, horrible anxiety, and horrible ADHD, and being forced into this online learning environment against anything that you want to be forced into? I can't, guys. I really can't. This article and/or journal clearly states the negative impact COVID-19 has on mental health of college students. How can we subject students to be isolated and set up for failure? Students with disabilities need to have more things they are able to utilize, not just Zoom. The stress that comes from online classes mixed up in the isolation of COVID and or the new way of American education sets up kids for a very difficult time and on rare occasions, failure. Now, off of that brings us into our final and last article. It is called Zoom Classes Cause Strain for Students with Attention Deficit Disorders. Now, this brings us into our final example as well, and it states, Zoom comes with a new set of challenges for students, teachers, and employees who use it. Zoom calls can leave people more exhausted than traditional classrooms because video conference calls require more energy and focus to effectively communicate than face-to-face meetings. Now, off of this, I went ahead and added one more example for y'all to look at. It states, it's a quote from a student at the college, and it says, it's been hell, and I felt like I've learned nothing, said Theo Shiner, a freshman biology major with ADHD, which I also have. Shiner expressed now that his classes do not meet in person, and he has no motivation. Can you imagine having no motivation? No motivation to do school, to get up, to do anything, all because of this online presence? For me, knowing that I can, this quote clearly shows the difficulties students have. Zoom does not meet the requirements for every single student, and especially students with disabilities and or learning challenges. It only furthers the challenges that people face on a day-to-day basis.